Greetings and hallucinations to all you folks out there. We're back for a 1 versus 1 on the pyramid. This is actually a relatively new addition to ladder, and I know there aren't any ladder games happening specifically right now because of client problems, but I've actually gotten several replays recently on the pyramids with 1 versus 1. It's kind of an interesting layout, a little bit of something different for the ladder game realm, but hopefully we can get a little bit of entertainment value out of this one. As always, guys, I'm in desperate need of replays. Please send me your replay files. The actual file, go to the replay vault on the FAF client, right-click that thing, hit show in Explorer, and then attach that file to an email to the email address in the description. That'll get it right to me, and I would be more than happy to look over it for you and possibly cast it. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this game, see what it has to offer us. This is not really going to be a speed run, but I'm probably going to spend most of this game at +2 or +3 because it is a relatively long one and it's a really spread out map, so we're going to be able to take in a lot of what's going on. We've got Mayor Damage. He is Cybern in the red corner. And then on the other side of the map, we have EMP taking Aeon. That is a relatively interesting matchup because it's going to be advancing past the T1 stage very, very quickly. The large scale of the map, the sheer volume of reclaim that's available to these guys, and the fact that you've got 4 hydrocarbon plants in your base practically, you're going to be able to scale up really, really quickly. That's going to mean that we've got obsidians and blazes on the map very soon, and we're probably going to see some rhinos and some early T3, or early-ish T3 from Mayor Damage as well. Got to get those good units up on the map as quick as you can. But let's watch how these guys spread out. We got 3 air factories, count them 3. That is a lot of air coming out for EMP. You might think that, hey, this is not enough power to be running that many air factories. Yeah, you're probably right, but he's probably going to go grab those hydro power plants fairly early on in the game. And obviously, you got to get some of this reclaim as well. There is quite a substantial amount. You can see a lot of those are worth 38, so you've got several hundred in each of these areas, and then you've also got these around the back, and then yes, some reclaim in the rear portion as well. On the other side here, we've got 1 single solitary air factory, and that is probably going to cause a power stall because there is only 1 PGen there. Maybe not, because he is not building anything else. He's not upgrading mass extractors. And it looks like he's going to walk over and immediately assist the other hydro power plant build with his ACU. And then he's also got an assisted build on the hydro here. So he is going to heavily depend on those hydro power plants from the very earliest portions of the game. And while he is going to nosedive on actual power supply briefly, he will get these up soon enough to actually fill in the gap. I'm not sure that that was it might not be the wisest choice though, because it is going to be a little bit slower expansion than what his opponent is doing. You can see we've already got a couple of combat units out on the map, flares and scout pairs, moving to the north and the south portions of the map, or right and left, depending on how you orient yourself. There comes that T1 bomber. It was able to drop 1, but not actually kill an engineer thanks to some micro there, and a failed second pass as well. No expansioneer kills for that poor little bomber. That was an absolute total waste. Excellent recovery by EMP, denying those kills. That is exactly what you want to do, and looks like he has his own bomber up on the north side. There is an interceptor in the area. He's going to pick up a double right there, right off the bat. And then it is going to follow it up with another kill, 3 for that bomber before it gets shot down. That is definitely worth something, but Red has already filled in just about his entire map. Let's see, EMP has been relying on reclaim to get his stuff off the ground. He is mass stalling a bit now, though, because he is run dry in a few of these areas. He's on 2,200 reclaim. And I love this up in the back. Look at this right here. We've got a flare all the way up in the back end of the map. He is killing off engineers up there, and he's probably going to be able to move forward and get more as well. 2 kills on there. Nicely done. Very nicely done. That flare did get picked up by a couple of combat units out there. So we've got EMP. He is at 2,500 reclaim and still hardcore mass stalled. he has got to get some things online to reclaim with. He's got 4 engineers out here. He needs to bite into some of this other mass. Mayor Damage, I was saying at the very beginning portion of the game that his expansion pattern maybe wasn't as efficient because he was going for the hydrocarbon plant so very early, but he was able to lock down all of his mass extractor points right at the first portion of the game, and that is turning out incredibly well for him at the moment because he is turning over quite a few more mass per tick than EMP is. And while he may not have nearly as much reclaim, he's at 300 right now, he is now biting into those rocks, and he's got a very well established economy to work with so that he can get those mass extractor upgrades and whatever else he needs to do. So overall, I think this plan definitely worked better. If I do get a 1 versus 1 on this map, I'm definitely going to have to remember that I need to get ACUs over and claim these hydrocarbon plants as quickly as I possibly can. You can see he's going to get the last one as we speak. There's a T1 transport. I have to see what he has planned with that. T1 bomber on the outside edge. That is probably in search of an expansioneer that would be headed out to that side, and we got a couple interceptors on this side keeping watch, so he's trying to just keep an eye on what's going on in the map. That is definitely one of the key points in any strategy game, is to gather as much intel as you can, as widespread as you can, and it looks like EMP has a pretty dang good handle on that. He does have a few Auroras out here in the middle trying to keep a handle on those mass extractors, but there is no intel there, no land scout, no radar, and those Auroras are going to lose to an absolutely tiny handful of tanks due to the half health of the Auroras. We've discussed that a bunch of times around here. I know you guys are well aware of the pros and cons of the Aurora T1 tank. Definitely, well, there's a radar right there, but I don't think that that will reach very far. Nope, no intel on that area. He does have a little radar from the bomber there, though, so he will be able to pick up that. 3,000 reclaim in the bag so far, and a fairly well-balanced power supply. He is getting another hydro online, and he has got pairs of P-gens all the way across here for his land factories. That is quite the nice little temple he's got there, actually. We're catching up on reclaim on the red side, 2,200, only 800 behind, and he is ticking up rather steadily. That is going to feed his appetite for tech. We do have 1 T2, 2 T2 mass extractors, and I don't think he's getting any more at this particular moment, but he is scaling up his land production. You can see we've got factories scattered out all across the map. This is actually my preferred method, because then I can easily grab groups of factories and queue them to different areas as I see fit, as opposed to having all of your factories, all of your build power, and P-gens actually in one place, where if you make a misstep and you direct your units to the wrong location, you could potentially lose a whole bunch of stuff before you could recover. It looks like Mayor Damage is securing a pretty good handhold on the map. He's got just over 50% map control, although there is 1 engineer over here building a point defense in order to hold on to that little locality. And we've got a T1 transport dropping the mesas. He's going to grab those mass extractors up there. Any little bit of income helps, right? Right. Looks like Red is failing to do so far, but he is pressing his advantage in the middle. Moving up with some Medusas and Mantis. That is one thing you do need to build a lot of versus Auroras. Medusas are incredibly good versus Aeon, so you need to build a ton of those so that you can overcome the range disadvantage with those T1 tanks. But it does not look like EMP is taking much care to actually kite with his Auroras, and they are just dying in swarms. Each one is only worth a portion of a Mantis once you get into that close range there. This point defense is doing a little bit of work. 5 kills on him, but hey, there's that T2 I was talking about. Blazes have made their debut. Where's that T2 HQ? Right there. Built up a couple of T2 engineers as well, getting power online. Probably means that we're going to see T2 air in just a few minutes. Hopefully he has enough units, though, because this is simply a lot of units versus a few. The time it took to get to this T2 stage and the income that he's investing, the build power that he's investing into these T2 power generators, very nearly came back and bit him in the butt with all of those units coming in, but it looks like he does have enough blazes online, just barely enough units to hold those things at bay. He does have a mobile flak online, which is going to be very, very helpful if any air threatens these groups, but it doesn't look like Mayor Damage is really pulling anything in the air game. He does have a T2 power generator of his very own going down, surviving on 900 power income, which is actually a 300 overflow when he's not reclaiming. 4,800 reclaim in the bag, 72 for EMP. EMP pulling ahead in that regard once again, and he finally has balanced out his mass. Looks like we're sitting on 78 per tick there and 59 per tick for Mayor Damage. So we're seeing a little bit more ecoing on the south side. That is a capped T2 mechs, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. 5 T2 mechs versus 2. But again, blue does not hold quite as much of the map and does not have as many units online as Mayor Damage does. And Mayor Damage is about to do some major damage to the left-hand portion of the map. That is a relatively undefended group of factories there, and that is a lot of Mantis pouring down on that position. We've got almost 50, along with a handful of Medusas and a couple of Rhinos. That means we've got a T2 factory in the mix for Mayor Damage as well, and he is absolutely pummeling the left side as well. Just so many units online. He has invested way more into combat strength than EMP has, although there is a little bit of a unit misplacement here. A couple of blazes moving in on this group of Mantis, but you know, blazes are not quite as strong as their OP obsidian counterparts, so they are going to have a little bit more trouble versus mass T1, although they are pretty dang speedy, so they're going to be able to get away from that group after taking a couple of losses. Aurora's up on this edge, killing off that engineer, and now we're going to see some more build power loss for EMP. He's already behind in unit production. He really does not need to be losing factories. That is one thing that he needs to keep online. There is a T2 support here. Probably would be a bad idea to drop a couple of T2 engineers and build a row of T2 factories on the right-hand side, because just about all of his production is on the left. He's moved entirely to T2 support factories on this side, with the exception of this one that is building T1 engineers, because you got to keep that build power coming. There's a T2 air factory right there, probably going to start pumping out swift winds in order to keep a good handle on air control. Although I'm not sure why he isn't abusing more air, seeing as he is pretty much trouncing Mayor Damage in air control. It's not exactly uncontested, but there simply isn't as much air build going on for Mayor Damage. There's a T1 bomber, and he is building some Corsairs from an unassisted T2 factory. That could potentially get dangerous, but at this particular moment, doesn't look like anything is going to happen with that. There come the Obsidians, replacing the blazes on the map, which I think is actually a good thing, because there's not a whole lot of skirting to be done when your opponent has this solid of a line across the map. You really need the strength of those mainline battle tanks in order to compete with all of the Rhinos that are pouring over this. And again, that's another strong point for the Medusas, because the T2 units will get stunned by that T1 artillery fire till you move up to the T3 stage, which we have just hit. There is the very first Harbinger right here moving across the map. Second one right there that I was about to zoom in on, and I caught myself. I'm not technically lying because I refocused before, or I'm not mistaken because I refocused before I actually got the words out of my mouth there. You need to pay a little closer attention, Brink. You're late on noticing that T3 factory. Some cap T2 mechs is in the back here, and we've got a triple upgrade going on this side. Looks like Mayor Damage is attempting to catch up on that economy investment. Mayor Damage pulling around 100 mass per tick with quite a bit of reclaim coming in. 15k, 19k for EMP, and he is at around 112 income. So still slightly ahead, but once these, well, they just did. Once those come online, the gap will be quite a bit closer. Few blazes on this side, but I don't think those are any match for the mass of T1 that is headed their way. There's a T3 mobile artillery, though. Unfortunate that it's Aeon. It can fire while moving, which is a strength, but it is not going to be able to bring the area of effect to the table that it needs in order to do serious damage to all of these T1 units. That is a big difference between that and the trebuchets, because the Cybern trebuchets are absolutely devastating versus T1 and T2 swarms, killing a bunch of units per hit. Those are going to be forced back by the presence of 3 Harbingers. 3 Harbingers, typically not what you would call a battle grouping, but they're basically walking T1 point defense, even more so than the Ilshvazar, and that is really not going to stand much of a chance versus that in a group of Obsidians. Struggle for air control in the works. There's a T2 transport that was out there in the fray. It's going to run helter-skelter back to the base and get out of harm's way. That is actually going to give air control over to Mayor Damage. He may only have 1 factory, but all of those engineers on it are definitely helping out, pumping out all of those interceptors and a handful of T1 bombers that are currently harassing this side of the map. I think that came out of nowhere for EMP, because he was not really... He had those early factories, and he did really well in the early game. Mobile Flak hitting the Corsairs there. That is brilliant. Swiftwind moving up to do damage as well. And there's 2 T2 gunships out. That is not exactly a smart move, considering the fact that you have 0 air control. Need to be pumping out Swiftwinds. Swiftwinds would definitely be the better choice here, but it looks like he is doing light assistance on 1 factory building Swiftwinds and 2 factories building T2 gunships. You're going to need a swarm of about 15 Swiftwinds to take out that many interceptors without taking huge losses. 1 Harbinger down? Somewhere. Right there. 1 Harbinger down. This is now, I think, a sufficient group to take this over, but not without huge losses. So probably best to keep giving ground just a little bit. T2 gunships in the back there could make a little bit of a difference there. There's no anti-air that I can see in that grouping, but if they sit there on the ground, there you go. You want to be out of reach of those Medusas should they fire. Because Medusas, we're not going to be able to see it here. Medusas, it's actually kind of funny to me when Medusas fire at something with gunships in the way, because then you get the stun effect on the gunships and they just kind of freeze in midair. I guess it makes more sense for a gunship to freeze than an ASF or an interceptor, because I have seen that before too, but it doesn't make much sense for an air unit to freeze without just crashing to the ground. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be nitpicking about a game like this where there's so many other things that are borderline physically impossible. Harbingers moving into the fray. Both of them go down to just the overwhelming force of rhinos that's here. But there are a lot of Obsidians still. They aren't going to fall because there are simply too many units, even more moving in from the right-hand side. It looks like we are going to get a handful of survivors. There's that stun from the Medusas, but lost both of his Harbingers and a good portion of his Obsidians as well. That was unfortunate. EMP picking up resource allocation on his ACU, and he is going for a T3 air factory. Look at that! 4 Harbingers up on the north side. I completely overlooked that. We're going to see him wreck the base back here. Units desperately pursuing, trying to catch up to that battle group, but Harbingers are so fast, they're just going to be on top of everything before anything can get done. T2 transport moving out. Another pair of Harbingers moving in on the center. Came up by this route. They are going to hit some walls, though. Going to have to attack those walls. Oh, Harbinger reclaiming them. I did not even think about that. Awesome use of the secondary abilities there by EMP. He is going to be able to trek right into the middle of the base. Needs to get these units on the move somewhere useful. We definitely have T3 in a big way for Mayor Damage. Look at all of the assistance he has on that factory, trying to get out enough bricks to counter these Harbingers, but it is going to be a tough one to call. There's so many Obsidians there. You don't really think of T2 units being that strong, but when you got that many in one spot, it can be devastating. Bricks kiting out of range, trying to hit without being hit. It looks like they're being relatively successful there, slowly chewing through that group of Obsidians. They are finally going to start falling, but not before they take out a mass extractor there and move into the rest of the base. There's definitely a focus on economy here, trying to do as much damage as he possibly can before all of those units go down. And that's actually important because he has now dumped a metric buttload. Yes, that is a scientific measurement of mass up on this place. You can see all of this. Holy crap. There's like 3,000-ish mass up in here. And then all of this as well sitting on top of the mass extractors. I think that Mayor Damage, even on 60-ish income, he could probably reclaim his way to a Monkey Lord. Although I should say a second Monkey Lord, because there is already one on the way on the left-hand side. That is going to be a little bit difficult to counter. There is a Galactic Colossus on the way. Mayor Damage pulling in a whopping 285 mass per tick, sitting on 40,000 reclaim. Exactly 40,000 for Mayor Damage as well, so they're dead tied on that, but only 113 income up there. He needs to get some more assistance on that Galactic Colossus, because if that Monkey Lord makes a nosedive for this base, he is not going to have enough to deny it, and that Galactic Colossus is not going to get finished. Harbinger still tearing up the middle, wiping out these T2 units that are sitting there not being used. You gotta watch, because Harbingers do outrange a lot of the T2 stage, and they are finally going to move out of the way, but still, that was heavier losses than should have happened. Got some Harbingers on the right-hand side. Harbies, I think, are about to have outlived their welcome, because they are exceptionally strong in the early portion of the late game. But once you start getting groups of bricks or groups of Percivals online, Harbingers simply do not have the staying power to keep up at that late stage of the game. And then you've got to pretty much depend on Galactic Colossuses and air control, which can get a little bit dicey. Those Harbies are going to get out of the way, though, using their superior speed to escape all of these bricks. But eventually, you know, you've got to make a stand. Here is the counter. There are sniper bots. I'm not sure why the Monkey Lord did not come and crash the base party back here. Definitely should have, but he opted to go for the right-hand side where a lot more of the units are. The sniper bots will be able to strike from range and do quite a substantial amount of damage to the bricks, and then of course the accuracy goes down on the firing patterns, but you can fire while moving as well, so they can kite the rest of these units. Those will be able to make quite a little bit of a difference in this fight. That was kind of a crap, what do you call it, oxymoron? Yes, quite a little bit of a difference. But anyway, they are going to be able to swing this fight slightly in favor of the blue, at least until the Monkey Lord shows up. That is a good way to stop bricks, not exactly a good way to stop a Monkey Lord. No staying power there, and with the stealth on the Monkey Lord, unless you have Omni, you're not really going to be able to hit anything. Let's check out what we've got here. Yep, there's the stealth. So these guys are actually going to run right into the Monkey Lord. No, turn back. You are getting your face melted off by a laser, and it didn't even have to happen. That's 2 veterancy on the Monkey Lord. Not a good place to be. There is the Galactic Colossus, finally complete, on its way towards the right-hand side. That Monkey Lord is going to move back ever so slightly. At least that'll go toe-to-toe with that vetted Monkey Lord, especially with the sniper bots backing him up. That should be a win for blue, but the map control is shrinking again. This has kind of been a common theme for most of this game. Blue techs up, makes a little bit of headway, and then red regains control of the map and reclaims his way across it once again. Looks like we got straight build on T2 there, not reclaiming those. He did reclaim all of the units, but he's opting for the decreased build time on the T2 mass extractors rather than reclaiming all of that mass. Mayor Damage moving up here, going to lay down a bunch of Cerberus turrets. T3 ACU builds them rather quickly, and with the help of those 4 bricks there, I think he should be more than fine against all of those Harbingers. Harby shot down there, thanks to the bricks and Monkey Lord. But here comes the Galactic Colossus. Not sure how efficient it is to assist all of these units to the GC, seeing as they spread out and don't necessarily go where they need to. The other advantage to this Galactic Colossus, besides the health, is the Omni Radius. So even before that Galactic Colossus gets in actual combat range of the Monkey Lord, it will be able to mark it on the radar, and then those snipers can take the son of a gun out. 2 Strat Bombers coming in, trying to do a little bit of damage I think that's what took out these two Cerberus turrets. I'm not 100% on that. Mayor damage still building more. But there is a slowly growing clump of Harbingers here that might present a little bit of a challenge, but not if they keep going out and dying. Galactic Colossus moving to the right. The Monkey Lord skirted the Colossus. This is huge. Look at this. No radar coverage, no scouting. Well, no Omni coverage anyway. There may be radar. There is radar. But that Monkey Lord, you can see the firing right there. Monkey Lord is now moving across towards the back of the map. That is going to go completely unnoticed by EMP. That Galactic Colossus moving up into the north portion of the base. He's seen it now, and he is moving all of those Harbingers and Sniper bots back to try to deal with it. That thing is on 3 veterancy now and at full health. 58,499 HP potential. That is going to be a tough son of a gun to kill. Strat Bombers coming in, trying to do the dodge. Do the job. Wow, that was a Freudian slip. Monkey Lord pulling a nice little dodge there on both bombers. T3 Mobile Anti-Air in the back, trying to deal with those Strat Bombers as they come in for another pass. There's a little bit of damage. Galactic Colossus is going to absolutely decimate this base, but that's not really going to help Blue. If there's a Monkey Lord approaching his commander, he needs to get that ACU out. Here comes a Galactic Colossus on this side. The left side is actually going to collapse under this. There is not enough to stop a GC, and the commander is right there. Is this really going to come down to a race against the commander? We've got interceptors trying to drop the Strat Bombers, successfully dropping 1, 2. No! Why are these not being cleaned up? Interceptors are going to save the freaking day, dropping 2 of the Strat Bombers. GC closing in on the ACU, which did retreat. GC in the base, but EMP, no! How could you? He's dead. He's dead, Jim. Talk about playing it against the clock. GC closing on the ACU in the north, losing his entire base out to the GC and combined forces on the right-hand side, but you know what? Not a worry in the world, because he has a Monkey Lord that can kill that ACU, and you know what? That's the only thing that matters in a ladder match. Kill the commander, you're good to go. Alrighty, folks. Well, that was a good one. That was a really good one. Pyramids plays, it's a little bit of a slow game. It's a little slow getting started, but you get to see the big guns come out, which you typically don't get to see much in ladder games. A lot of times it's decided by T1 and T2, occasionally the T3 stage of spam. You don't get to see multiple T4s pulled out by the teams, but hey, makes for a good game. Alrighty, folks, that's going to wrap it up for me. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please send me a few replays, and I will see you guys in the next one.